You ever open a birthday card and suddenly realize your entire marriage is a Jenga tower missing the bottom row? Yeah, me neither. Until it happened. It was my 39th birthday. I remember that because I had just turned the corner from young and ambitious to should probably start stretching before yard work. The weather was good. My cholesterol was decent. My wife, Camille, had made her usual fuss, streamers, her homemade lemon cake, a few friends over, the works. And then came the card. Everyone else brought Hallmark cliches and dad jokes. But Camille? She handed me a red envelope like it was laced with affection. A little heavy, too, like it had something inside. Money, maybe. Or those concert tickets I kept hinting at. I opened it with a dumb grin on my face. No money. No tickets. Just a handwritten note. Happy birthday, babe. Can't believe you're almost 40. Hope you're not too tired for tonight. Winking face. Love, C. Oh, and thank you for being so understanding about the business trips. You're more patient than I deserve. Can't wait to see you again in Chicago. Same room. I blinked. Read it again. And then again. Here's the thing. I wasn't going to Chicago. Camille was. Alone. For work. That wink emoji. It landed like a punch. That little same room. That was the crack. The one in the dam before the flood. I didn't say a word. Not even when she kissed my cheek and asked me if I liked it. I just smiled like an idiot and blew out the candles on a cake that now tasted like chalk. You see, Camille wasn't a cartoon villain. She didn't slink around in black leather or twirl a mustache. She wore yoga pants and used phrases like emotional bandwidth. But don't let the soft voice and green smoothies fool you. This woman could lie smoother than a jazz sax solo. And me? I wasn't the fool she thought I was. Oh, she had me pegged. The quiet husband. The planner. The guy who alphabetized his spice rack and remembered her cousin's dog's birthday. Boring, right? But boring isn't stupid. Boring has time to notice. Boring pays attention. For instance, I already knew about Chicago. That wasn't news. What was news was that she thought I didn't. That's what made it personal. The next morning, I got up early, shaved, put on my best flannel, and called in sick. Food poisoning, I told my boss. Camille's lemon cake got me. It hadn't. But I had work to do. Revenge doesn't start with a shout. It starts with a spreadsheet. Now, before you judge me for what I'm about to say, just know this. I didn't go looking for payback right away. At first, I was just auditing. Not my marriage. My life. I opened Excel and titled the sheet something dramatic. Operation Clean Slate. Because my wife might be playing hide the coworker in Chicago felt too wordy. The columns were simple. Date. Her excuse. Where she said she'd be. Where her phone actually pinged. Who she was with suspected. Notes. Now, let me pause to say, I never wanted to be this guy. The suspicious one. The tracker. The digital detective. But Camille's little wink emoji had handed me the magnifying glass and said, go ahead. Ruin your own birthday. So I did. By 10 a.m., I'd ordered a GPS tile for her suitcase, the one she took on every conference, set up a new Gmail alias, and reached out to a buddy of mine from college who now worked in IT for a phone carrier. I wasn't trying to break laws, just bend them until they squealed. At 11:17 a.m., she texted me. Boarding now. Love you, talk when I land. Smiling face with smiling eyes. A smiley. Bold move, Camille. Real bold. At 11:34, the GPS pinged. Not O'Hare. Not Midway. Detroit. Detroit. She hadn't even bothered to keep the lie consistent. Chicago had been her go-to city for months. Suddenly, she was pivoting cities like a touring jazz band. I didn't text back. Just logged the entry. January 17th / Chicago Conference / Detroit Metro / suspect. The yoga coach / switch in cities. Tracking continues. I closed the laptop and made coffee. Black. No sugar. Felt like it fit the vibe. That night, I didn't sleep much. Not because I was heartbroken. Oh, that came later. I was thinking. See, Camille thought she had the upper hand because she had mystery on her side. Secrets. A head start. What she didn't realize. I was built for slow burns. She was firecrackers. I was pressure cookers and chess clocks. I could wait. And I could plan. The next day, I called her work. Hi. I said, using my most casual voice. I'm trying to get in touch with Camille Hargrove. She's out of the office, right? The woman on the other end was chipper. Too chipper. Oh, Camille's here today. She's just in a meeting. Would you like to leave a message? I paused. Let that information settle like a stone in a pond. Nope, I said. I'm good. Click. By the end of the week, my spreadsheet was 12 rows deep. I'd tracked her movements, gathered timestamps, synced it with screenshots, hotel bookings, Uber records, and even caught a voice note she sent someone that ended with, "Miss you already. Can't wait until February." February. That's when I circled the date in red and wrote, "Make it count." She was planning something. And so was I. February was always our thing. The month we met. The month we got married. The month she used to leave dumb notes in my briefcase that said stuff like, "Still crazy about you, even when you don't do the dishes." This year, she didn't leave a note. She left a browser tab open. Hyatt Grand. Room with a spa tub. 2 guests. I clicked print and added it to the folder I'd started labeling the exit file. It was getting thicker, like a bad novel I didn't ask to read. Now, here's the irony. I suggested the anniversary trip. Yummy. Mr. Predictable. Mr. Fold his socks. I told her we should reset things. Go somewhere quiet. Reconnect. I even let her pick the location. Palm Lake, the cabin resort 2 hours outside the city. Romantic enough for appearances, remote enough for what I was planning. She smiled when I said it. Almost looked guilty. Almost. "That's sweet," she said, eyes darting like she owed me an explanation. "I'd love that. I bet you would, Camille. I bet you would." The week before the trip, I played the role of doting husband so well even I almost believed it. I brought her breakfast, rubbed her shoulders, watched her taste her coffee like she was still drinking it for me. Meanwhile, she was still sneaking texts under the pillow, still smirking at her phone like it whispered compliments I couldn't compete with. So I did what any rational man would do. I booked a second cabin, right across the lake. "You want to split cabins?" she asked when I brought it up. "That's weird." "Not split," I said with a smile. "Just back up. In case something goes wrong with the plumbing, heat, who knows. You know how those old cabins are. I got it on a discount. It's literally next door." Technically, it was across the frozen lake. But I didn't correct her, because I'd already been there. Already planted a motion sensor camera facing the porch of cabin 14, the one she just so happened to request. She thought she was being clever, booking that room from a separate travel site, not knowing I already had the reservation list downloaded from a friend who worked at the resort. You see, Camille was good at secrets, but I was better at patterns. We drove up Friday morning. She packed light, wore that scarf I bought her last Christmas, the one she told me felt too itchy at the time. Funny how betrayal changes your wardrobe preferences. When we arrived, she made a big show of checking into cabin 14. I kissed her cheek, unloaded the car, and wheeled my bag toward cabin 18. "You sure you're good over there?" she asked, half laughing, half scheming. "Oh, I'll manage," I said, lifting my bag. "We're only a few steps away, right?" She nodded, and I swear on everything, I saw the exact second she thought, "He's clueless." That night, she told me she was tired, that she wanted to rest up before we made the most of tomorrow. Sure, Camille. Rest up. Hydrate. Stretch. Because tomorrow, I was going to make the most of it. I woke up at 4:17 a.m. Not because I had to, because my mind had already gone to war before my body even caught up. Outside, the lake was frozen solid, moonlight spilling across it like glass. The cold made everything still, still enough for plans to sharpen. I made coffee. Black. No cream, no sugar. No room for softness today. I pulled out the manila folder, the one labeled the exit file, and laid everything across the kitchen table. Printed texts, screenshots, GPS logs, her fake work receipts, the hotel booking she never meant me to find. It was all there, like some morbid scrapbook of marital erosion. Then came the harder part. Looking in the mirror. Not metaphorically. Literally. There was a full-length one beside the door, and I caught myself in it. Rumpled flannel, dark eyes, a face that had aged 5 years in the last 5 weeks. I looked like a man who still made his wife's tea the way she liked it, even after he knew she stopped drinking it. I stared at that version of myself and said, out loud, "No more." At 6 a.m., I stepped out onto the porch. Across the lake, cabin 14 was dark, but not asleep. Her car was there. His wasn't. Yet, I adjusted the collar on my coat, tucked the small trail cam remote into my pocket, and walked back inside. I'd rigged the sensor last night while she was unpacking. Took me 6 minutes. If a squirrel sneezed on her welcome mat, I'd know. I made eggs. Ate 2 bites. At 7:12 a.m., my phone buzzed. Motion detected, cabin 14, front porch. I opened the app. A tall man. Athletic. Gray coat. The professional, kind of good-looking, clean lines, teeth too white to be trusted. I didn't recognize him, but I recognized the vibe. The confident walk of a man who's been texted. I left the door unlocked, face blowing a kiss. I hit record. Let the camera do its thing. And then, I waited. Camille called me at 8:30. "Hey, babe," she chirped, voice soft like she'd just finished brushing someone else's cologne off her neck. "Hope you're up." I grabbed some coffee from the lodge. "Want me to swing by with one?" Smooth. I pictured her standing in her cabin, barefoot, reheating yesterday's betrayal like leftover takeout. I played dumb. "Yeah, sure," I said. "Bring me something strong." She laughed. "You always want it strong." I nearly said, "And you always want it secret." But I smiled instead. She showed up 10 minutes later with 2 cups and a face scrubbed clean of guilt. She even kissed me. Light. Familiar. The kind of kiss that says I've done worse than lie, and you'll forgive me anyway. I sipped the coffee. She sat across from me on the couch, legs curled under her like nothing in the world was wrong. We talked about the lake. The weather. She asked if we could go hiking later. "Sure," I said. "You rest up. I'll plan it." She beamed. Beamed. I don't know what disturbed me more, that she was so good at lying, or that I was getting better at pretending I believed her. By noon, she said she was going to walk around the resort and take photos for Instagram. Bold move. Walk around with mascara still smeared from a man whose name she probably saved under dentist in her phone. As soon as she left, I opened the laptop again. The cam feed from cabin 14 was quiet now, but the visitor had stayed 2 hours. Plenty of time. I reviewed the footage frame by frame. At one point, he stood on the porch holding her waist. She laughed, kissed his cheek, leaned into him like it was muscle memory. Like she belonged there. With him. That was when I knew something most men only figure out after the divorce papers are signed. You don't lose your wife all at once. You lose her piece by piece. Smile by smile. Excuse by excuse. Until one day, she's just a guest in your cabin, bringing you coffee with someone else's fingerprints on the cup. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Why would I? The game was still unfolding. I needed her to keep thinking she was winning. That night, we grilled steaks together like newlyweds. She poured the wine, set the table, put on music. We even danced. She laughed when I spun her. Told me she missed this. "Missed us," she said, her eyes soft. I wanted to ask, which version of us? But I didn't. Because the best revenge isn't the dramatic showdown. It's the calm before it. She went to bed early again. Said she was tired from the hike. We didn't hike. I sat on the porch until midnight, watching the lake, watching the light in cabin 14 flicker off again. Then I stood, pulled out my phone, opened the voice recorder, and started talking. "Camille," I said, "when you hear this, I'll already be gone. Not from the cabin. From you. You won't see it coming. Not because I'm cruel, but because I learned how to be quiet." I paused. "You thought you were building an escape plan. But the whole time, I was building a stage. And tomorrow, it opens." Morning came dressed in fog, quiet as a guilty conscience. Camille was still asleep. At least, that's what she wanted me to think. Her breathing had that fake rhythm, too even to be real, like someone trying to act unconscious during a home invasion. I made breakfast. Eggs again. Bacon, 2 pieces, slightly burnt. Just the way she used to like it before she decided her gut health was more important than anything I ever cooked. "Morning," she said from the hallway, wrapped in my hoodie. "Cute. You were out early," she added, sniffing the air like a bloodhound. "I woke up and you were gone." "I couldn't sleep," I said. "Needed a walk. This place clears my head." She smiled, stirred her tea. I watched her glance at her phone like it owed her a favor. Probably waiting for a message from him. Probably nervous that I had one coming. She had no idea I disabled the Wi-Fi last night. Her phone was offline, which meant her second life was on pause, and that made her twitchy. "I thought we could check out the Overlook Trail today," I said, flipping a pancake. "You always loved that one." She blinked, momentarily thrown by the fact that I remembered. "I did," she said slowly. "Yeah, sure." At 10:45 a.m., she faked a headache. Said she wanted to lie down. "Could we go later?" "Of course," I said. "Take your time." I watched her retreat into the bedroom, door shutting like a whispered apology. Then I walked out the front door and crossed the lake. The second cabin, the one I'd rented under a fake name, was still untouched. I'd kept it dark, unplugged, spotless. Inside, my laptop was already on. Cam feeds open. Everything in place. Time for final touches. I pulled out the envelope labeled Her Lies and opened it like a magician revealing the final card. Photos, screenshots, audio, printouts of hotel reservations. The receipt for lingerie I never saw. The GPS ping from that night, she said she was volunteering at a charity auction. But the crown jewel? A video. Just 3 minutes long. Recorded yesterday. In it, Camille is standing outside cabin 14 in her winter coat, kissing that man like she forgot she had a husband 200 feet away grilling her favorite dinner. Her hand slipped into his pocket like it had a pension plan in it. The date stamp and location sat proudly in the corner. No guessing games. I uploaded the video to a flash drive. Then I placed it into a small black envelope, sealed it, and labeled it with one word. Play. By noon, she came out again. Brushed, dressed, cheeks flushed like she'd cried or maybe just stared at her phone too long wondering why he hadn't texted back. Spoiler, he couldn't. His number was on a vacation block I set last night using my friend's admin access through their shared telecom provider. Like I said, one step ahead. You sure you feel up for the hike? I asked as she sat down. Yeah, she said, forcing a chipper voice. I think I just needed rest. You always say that, I said lightly. You've been tired a lot lately. She froze just enough to notice. Work's been crazy. Right, I said. Marketing's a beast. She blinked. I'd never once remembered what her department was called. Until now. We packed light. Water bottles. A couple trail bars. I made sure she brought her phone. She didn't know it was still offline. As we started walking, I reached into my coat and pulled out the final piece of the puzzle, a handwritten letter folded into a neat triangle. I slipped it under the doormat of cabin 14, along with the black envelope. Then I texted my buddy Theo. Drop at 2:15, just like we planned. Confirmed. He replied instantly. Confirmed. I'll cue the delivery guy. He's already got the vest. Perfect. The hike was uneventful, except for the silence. And the way Camille kept checking her screen every few minutes like a digital Ouija board was going to bring her secret lover back to life. Bad reception, I said, watching her. She forced a laugh. Yeah, super dead up here. Funny, I said. You used to say the best part about this place was the disconnection. She shrugged. I guess I've changed. Oh, you've changed, Camille. Into someone I wouldn't trust with my worst secret, let alone my name. We made it back around 2:10. I'm gonna shower, she said, already halfway to the bedroom. You do that, I said. I'll grab the mail. They said the delivery guy drops around 2. She froze, just for half a second, like something in her brain connected the dots and immediately started crossing them back out. Delivery, she said. Yeah, I said. That book I ordered. You know me. Can't pass up a good nonfiction. Her smile returned, brittle as a dry leaf. I walked to cabin 14 with steady steps. The porch was empty, but the doormat had moved slightly. Good. She'd seen it. I opened the door, walked in, and found what I'd hoped for. The black envelope was gone, but the triangle letter? Still there. Unopened. Because she didn't care about the why. She only cared if the proof was real. She never did have the stomach for depth. At 2:14 p.m., a white SUV rolled into the parking lot. Out stepped a man in a blue windbreaker with a Mountain Express logo. He was holding a box labeled Camille Hargrove. Right on cue. He walked up to our cabin and knocked twice. I stayed inside, hidden, watching from the window. Camille answered, half-dressed, hair wet from the shower, eyes wide with confusion. Delivery for Camille, the man said, handing her the box and walking off without another word. She looked down at it. Same triangle logo as the resort. Familiar enough to disarm. Just enough to make her think it was nothing. Until she opened it. Until she saw what I put inside. A second flash drive. A printed still from the cabin cam. Her and Mystery Man in a full embrace. And on top, a single note. You always said honesty was the most important part of a marriage. You first. Camille didn't scream. Didn't cry. She closed the door. And for the next 2 hours, she didn't come out. I sat outside. Waiting. Smiling. The sun dipped low behind the trees, setting the lake on fire with its reflection. Cabin 14 sat quiet, the porch untouched. The curtains? Drawn. The door? Still shut. But I knew she was in there. Sitting in a spiral. playing that flash drive on loop, rewatching herself kiss someone else like she forgot cameras existed, wondering how long I'd known. When I'd figured it out, how much I'd seen. The answer was simple, all of it. I went back to our cabin and began setting the table. 2 plates. Her favorite wine, Tempranillo, 2016, the bottle she once called stupidly perfect. I lit a few candles. Presentation matters, after all. By 7 o'clock, the food was ready. By 7:05, she still hadn't shown. At 7:12, I heard footsteps outside. Not confident ones. Careful ones. The door opened slowly, like the beginning of a horror movie, and there she stood, Camille, in that soft gray sweater she used to wear on Sundays. Hair pulled back, face pale, mouth set in a line that couldn't quite decide if it wanted to apologize or lie again. "You made dinner," she said, her voice cautious. "I did." She looked at the plates, then at me, then back at the plates. "This feels weird." "It is," I said, calmly pulling out her chair. "But not for the reason you think." She sat down slowly, like her legs weren't totally convinced they should be part of this evening. Silence. The only sounds were the soft clinks of silverware and the slow burn of the candle wax dripping onto the linen. "I don't even know what to say," she finally whispered. "Try the truth." She flinched, just slightly. "You set me up." "No," I said, cutting a piece of steak. "I let you expose yourself. I just gave you good lighting." She put her fork down. "Mark, listen. I made mistakes. I know that." "Mistakes are typos," I said, not looking up. This was strategy. She didn't deny it. Didn't argue. That was new. "I was going to tell you," she added. "Before or after he proposed in the hot tub?" I asked, finally meeting her eyes. "Do you even know his middle name?" That hit her. I could see it. Her jaw clenched like she wanted to scream something dramatic, but all she managed was, "You don't understand. Enlighten me." She leaned forward, palms open. "Mark, you're a good man. You always were. But somewhere along the way, you just got predictable. We became roommates with matching tax returns. And your solution was to sneak around and turn our marriage into a backup plan." I asked, not angry, just curious. "I guess I missed the marriage seminar that covered emotional arson." Her eyes filled, but no tears came. Camille was never a crier. She weaponized silence better than tears. I didn't mean to fall for someone else. I leaned back, glass of wine in hand. "You didn't fall," I said. "You climbed. One foothold at a time. Lies, texts, excuses, weekend trips. That's not falling. That's logistics." The silence that followed was heavier than anything we'd said. "Did you show the video to anyone else?" she asked suddenly. Interesting choice of concern. "I don't need to," I said. "It's for you." "A mirror." She shook her head. "What do you want, Mark? You want me to beg? Cry? Move out? What's the endgame here?" That was the first real question she'd asked all night. I let it sit. Then I said, "I want you to understand that I saw everything," and stayed silent. That I could have exploded. I could have thrown things, exposed you, burned this marriage down in front of an audience. Her lips parted, but I didn't stop. But instead, I waited. I watched. I recorded. Because I knew the worst thing I could do to you was nothing. That made her flinch again. I stood up, walked to the counter, and came back with a small white box. "Open it." She hesitated. Then she lifted the lid. Inside was her engagement ring. The one I replaced 10 years ago after she lost the original in a hotel pool in Cancun. She'd cried when I gave her this one. Swore she'd never take it off again. But this time, she just stared at it like it was evidence in a trial she didn't remember attending. "I want you to wear that tomorrow," I said. "Smile at breakfast. Hold my hand when we check out." She looked up, blinking. "What?" "You heard me. We're finishing the weekend. You're going to act like everything is perfect." "Why would I do that?" "Because after tomorrow," I said, calmly, "you'll never see me again." She paled. I continued. "You won't have to move out." "I will." "The house." "Yours." "The joint accounts." "Yours." "The Lexus." "Yours." She opened her mouth, stunned. "But," I added, "you'll explain it to everyone. Your friends. Your family. His kids, if he has any. You'll tell them the truth. Not your version. The version." She swallowed hard. "And if I don't?" "Then I released the footage," I said. "To your job. To your parents. To his wife." She stiffened. "So he was married. That wasn't on the spreadsheet. Bonus point for me." "You wouldn't do that," she said quietly. "You sure?" I asked. "Because the old me, the soft, predictable man you cheated on? He wouldn't. But me? I leaned forward. I already did. The morning after our dinner that wasn't, Camille was quiet. She sat across from me at the lodge cafe, stirring her coffee until the foam disappeared. Her hand trembled when she reached for the creamer, and I almost felt bad. Almost. Smile? I whispered across the table, just loud enough for her to hear. We're a happy couple, remember? She did it. Because of course she did. For Camille, the performance always came easier than the truth. That morning, she wore her wedding ring like it meant something. Like she hadn't tried to trade it for hotel rooms and hotel whispers. We checked out right on time. I handed the keys to the front desk, wrapped an arm around her shoulders, and let her feel what it was like to be held by someone who wasn't flinching anymore. Back to the real world, she said, eyes scanning the lobby. For you, maybe, I replied. For me? Whole new world. She didn't ask what I meant. She didn't have the stomach for the answer. On the drive back, she fell asleep. Or faked it. Either way, I stared at the road and thought about the first time we took that same route together. Back when we still believed we were invincible. When love wasn't a performance. When she hadn't learned to lie in lowercase texts with hearts at the end. Back then, I thought forever was a place we'd live in. Now I know, it's just a lease. And hers expired today. We got home Sunday evening. The house looked the same, but I didn't. Not on the inside. She went straight to the bedroom. Said she was tired from the drive. Said she'd unpack later. I nodded. Perfect. Because while she was in the shower, I grabbed the second envelope from my sock drawer. The one labeled Camille for when it's over. Inside, a USB drive, a key, and a letter. I left it on her pillow. Then I walked out the front door for the last time. The next morning, she called me 5 times. I didn't answer. She texted next. Camille, what is this? Camille, what did you do? Camille, Mark. Answer me. Please. The USB? It held everything. The texts. The video. A voiceover I'd recorded. Reading from her own messages like an audiobook of betrayal. I even put subtitles on it. Just in case she wanted to turn the volume down and pretend it didn't happen. The key? That was to a storage unit. Inside it, everything I ever wanted to say to her, boxed up and labeled like exhibits in a courtroom. Every photo, every note, every souvenir from our years together. Even her wedding dress, sealed in plastic like it still had meaning. The letter? Just this. Dash, you don't get an ending. You get a beginning, yours. And I'll build mine without you. This wasn't revenge. This was release. Be grateful I gave you the quiet version. Weeks passed. Camille went full PR mode. She told friends I had a midlife crisis. That I walked out without a word. She even staged a lunch with her sister to cry about how I just changed. She didn't know I was still watching. See, I never shut off the trail cam account. I never disabled the GPS ping she didn't know was tucked into her car. I just let her wander, thinking she was finally free. Then one day, she tried to transfer money from our joint account. Not a lot, just enough to cover a weekend trip. Denied. She tried again. Then again. She called the bank. They told her the account had been closed. All funds moved to a private trust. One I set up weeks ago, split cleanly and legally. Hers, already delivered to her name in a certified check. Mine, untouchable. She called me that night. First time I heard her voice since the cabin. You don't have to be cruel, Mark, she said. I took a deep breath. Camille, this isn't cruelty. Pause. This is closure. Then I hung up. Months later, I ran into her by accident. Grocery store. Aisle 3. She looked thinner. Not in the way that makes people say, you look great, but in the way that made me think she'd been eating guilt for dinner. She froze when she saw me. Her hand hovered over a jar of almond butter. Hi, she said. Just that one syllable, full of everything unspoken. I nodded. Camille, I didn't expect to see you here, she said, trying to sound casual. Life's full of surprises, I replied. You taught me that. She glanced down at her cart. I'm sorry for what I did. I know. Silence. Then she asked the question she'd probably been saving. Was there someone else? I looked her dead in the eyes. Calm. Clear. No. She blinked. Then why did you leave like that? I took a breath. Smiled. Because I wanted you to feel what it's like to look at someone and realize they're already gone. She didn't say anything. She didn't need to. I turned and walked away, almond butter still trembling in her hand. That was the last time I saw her.